What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. Today we have on the one, the only Elite Takes. Nico, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to chop it up.
Yeah, we got it was a crazy weekend of football, from the biggest comeback in NFL history to a pretty bad call on Sunday night. It was a pretty bad no call, sorry, on Sunday night, but it was a crazy week of football. But first, before we dive into the football side of things, I have a few questions for you that I know a lot of your fans have been wanting answers to. So,
Sure.
yeah, first things first. What first got you into creating content on TikTok?
Well, it mainly started off during COVID. Everyone was just kind of isolated in their rooms scrolling through TikTok, and I noticed that that was when I really got into football, like really in depth. I was always like your ordinary football fan, but that's when I really started getting into it. And when I saw all this football content on my For You page, I was like, maybe I have something to say. So I started off just doing fantasy. But then that got kind of repetitive and boring for me. So I just said, I'm going to talk about all sports, fantasy or real. And that's how it started. It was actually, I think the 2-year anniversary is coming up in like a couple of days. So.
Let's go. That's nice. Let's go. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, what advice for someone that's just starting up on TikTok? What advice would you have for them?
It really is just consistency. Like if you can put out 1 to 3 videos a day, and create like videos that provoke comments. Obviously, don't say stupid stuff, but if you can create engaging content that gets people going and intrigues people, and just post it consistently, and use hashtags, that's really my advice for getting big on TikTok. And also start a Twitter. Like I wasn't on Twitter until last season, and all of a sudden I've got a pretty big Twitter platform too. So
yeah, I definitely say cross platforms and stuff is
cross platforms for sure. Yeah,
a great way to grow. And then I know this is a big question that a lot of people it's heavily wanted through a lot of your fans.
Oh yeah.
Are there any plans soon for an Elite Takes podcast?
Honestly, it is very possible, especially with especially if TikTok were to get banned by the U.S. government, which apparently is a minor possibility. I would probably shift to more of like a YouTube, podcast, Twitter type of thing. So it's definitely possible, but probably not going to happen unless I stop focusing on TikTok. So
okay, that's good to know. If you could have like one guest on your podcast, who would you choose? You could choose anybody.
Anybody? I got to start off with my favorite player, Jalen Waddle.
Yes, let's go, Jalen Waddle.
That's what we got to do. First episode, he's getting on there.
Yeah, I like that one. But yeah, I mean, congrats, you guys! You just hit 475,000. You're almost at 500,000 now, which is absolutely insane. Yeah, how do you feel? That's like you're basically every time you create a video, you're basically about I don't know how much, but probably like hundreds of thousands of people are seeing it. Like, how does that make you feel?
I mean, it really feels honestly surreal, man. Like to put out a video and see within like, a couple hours or so that everyone in FedEx Field last night would have seen it. Like that's just crazy to put into perspective. And I'm always excited to see all the initial comments, especially when the Dolphins win, not when the Dolphins lose. That's when it kind of sucks that that's 100,000 people are gonna see it. But,
that was I mean your phone's good, so we saw the little thing when the Dolphins lost on Saturday night.
Got tagged
that wasn't good.
Quite a lot in a certain video.
That wasn't good. But yeah, I mean, congratulations and stuff. So
thank you, man.
2 years, that's crazy. All right, so now we're shifting more to the football side of things. Commanders and Giants on Sunday night. I was so hyped for that game. Our entire season was on that game, and it was an L, to say the least.
It was unfortunate, man. I really thought that you guys were gonna take care of business by multiple scores, but honestly, just shot yourselves in the foot. I would say, like
you have
more self-inflicted.
Yeah, you have the 2 penalties or the 1 penalty and then the 1 no call at the end, but there's no reason we should have been in that place where 1 call decides the entire game. Again, we had multiple chances, the 2 fumbles, like you said in one of your videos. That was just horrible. Heineke didn't keep control of the ball for a lot of the game. It felt
That
like
dropped interception.
yeah, Jahan Dawson. I know he learned how to play defensive back from Terry McLaurin because that was
turns into the defensive back school, Washington.
Yeah, we're turning into DBU. It was pretty bad. We could get like Travis Hunter. Doesn't he play both wide receiver and defensive back? 2025. I think he'd be the perfect
2025.
fit. Yeah, that'd be the perfect fit for us. But yeah, the team really let down all around. No pressure on Daniel Jones for pretty much the entire game. I don't think we got a single sack on him. No turnovers on Daniel Jones. It felt like Brian Daboll was just calling the same 3 plays over and over. And it was either Saquon up the middle, it was like a Hodgins slant, or a Richie James out route. It was like the same 3 things, and
over and over.
Yep, it worked every time. And I felt like that's what the Giants have been doing all year, just the same 3 things, and
same thing.
It works. So
you either give it to Saquon or you just call a bunch of hitches and just hope that one of the guys catches it. And then, of course, Giants fans get super pissed because their receivers can't separate. So,
and then there's us who I felt like the entire game was just playing prevent defense, even though it was tied in the second quarter. But it was
I really felt like you guys had the guys to get some pressure going. And I was honestly stunned on that final drive when the Giants broke off like 3 10-yard runs in a row. I did not expect them to milk the clock like that, really, because you guys have had one of the best interior defensive lines in the league this season.
Yeah, it's just not. I don't know, but I guess our 2 first-round picks are getting absolutely destroyed by Mark Lewinsky and whoever the other guard is. But
Evan Neal had a rough night, though.
Yeah, he really did. There's 2 big penalties at least I saw, and then it was just a lot of pressure off that one side. But I mean, Daniel Jones was just letting it rip within felt like 2 seconds. So couldn't get to him in time. Secondary, I already mentioned, I felt like they're playing prevent defense. The play calling on both sides of the ball, just horrible. Don't really know what we're doing there.
It felt like Scott Turner was finding his groove in the third quarter there, and then I just don't know what happened. He was getting the ball to Terry and Dotson in space. It was working really well. So.
Yeah, it felt good for a drive or 2, and then it plummeted pretty bad, especially in that first half too. We only scored 3 points on offense, and that wasn't even our worst half of the year by a lot. So
what would you say was your worst half of the year?
Probably either the first half against the Lions, that was pretty bad, then the first half against the Eagles first half in week 3 the next week. So we've had some pretty bad offensive halves. But I saw this one metric before coming into this game. It was the Commanders are the luckiest team in the NFL, and the Giants are the 3rd, I think, or the 2nd.
That does not surprise me one bit.
Yeah, I mean, we've had in the game against the Falcons, we had the tip pass, and then it was picked off, and then I think it was tipped by Payne and then intercepted at the goal line. We had some
offensive pass interference on the ref against the Vikings.
Yeah, that one too. And then there's some other one probably somewhere, but there's been a lot of instances where
the Quez Watkins fumble.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. And then there's a lot. The minute I touched that was pretty bad. All right, so now going to the 2 play calls. What were your thoughts on the Terry McLaurin situation? And in my opinion, he did everything he could, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad look, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if he truly was told by the ref
Mm-hmm.
that you're good, and then the ref was just waiting to throw the flag, like I do not
Mm-hmm.
understand that. And like if you look at the actual replay, he wasn't actually at the line of scrimmage, but
Yeah.
the ref tells you you're at the line of scrimmage. What are
Yeah.
you supposed to do? Like,
Yeah, I don't.
and the other thing that annoys me is that it had absolutely no impact on the actual play.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I know you can't really hate the rules. Like, you can't argue with an established rule,
Yeah.
but that didn't feel right to me
Mm-hmm.
at all. And, you know, like if there's ever a suspicious thing that a ref has done to completely alter the game, it was that penalty right
Yeah.
there, man.
Yeah. And there was a video I saw on Twitter. It was like there was 4 or 5 other times where Terry looked at the ref throughout the entire game and made sure that he was lined up on the line of scrimmage, and the ref told him he was good. So again, I don't
Oh, yeah.
really know what happened there. And then the play after that.
Play after that.
Yeah. I know. I don't know if it was that play. No, the
I
play
mean,
after that was the third down
it was,
where
yeah, third.
He rolled out of the pocket and then he was
Almost got
pressured.
snapped, yeah.
Yeah, and then he got taken down. But in my opinion, we should have ran the ball there. That's just my thoughts on it. We still had a
I was
timeout
saying the
left.
whole way, give it to B-Rob.
Yeah,
Like,
he's been great all the game. He averaged 7.5 yards per carry, and we only gave it to him 12 times. So yeah, don't really know what we were doing there. And then
Scott Turner, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, Scott Turner. And then the play after that was the defensive pass,
Defensive pass interference.
Yeah,
Just a terrible play all around. Like,
yeah, and then you said in your video the Kayvon Thibodeau thing.
yeah,
That play as
it
well.
should have just been a redo. Like, I'm not sure. Do those penalties offset? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
they would have.
Man.
Yeah,
it was. I mean, you said that at first you thought that it wasn't defensive pass interference, and then you changed your mind.
At first I thought, I was like, man, they let them play. I can't really be mad about that, considering what happened to my Dolphins the night before. But then I was like, have some common sense, Nico. He got choked.
yeah. And then like I'm in my opinion, if you call the play before where it has no impact and you still call the penalty on that, then you can't just let them play on the next play or
it was inconsistency, really. Like, if they had just called both of those or just not called either of those, I don't think that we would have the problem that we are having right now.
Yeah. Have you felt like the calls have just been kind of off throughout this entire season, or do you think it's just kind of like this?
I mean, maybe it's just because like I've progressively begun to watch more football than ever. So like, I guess we just start noticing all these little bits, but gosh, I can think of all the incidents: the Grady Jarrett incident, Chris Jones incident,
any roughing the passer called ever, basically.
Any the roughing passer called ever. I can't really complain about the pass interference call on Saturday night. Just unfortunate.
Yeah,
but it has been off for sure. Like it really has.
Yeah, I will say the Vikings, I think it was the Vikings game. That ref, I've never seen that ref before, and he was making some random.
They called off 2 touchdowns for Chandon Sullivan.
Yeah, I don't really know what that ref was doing, and I've never seen that ref before. I don't know if it's just me, but yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this game. Next week, hopefully, we can get the win in San Francisco. Probably.
Oh man, like, here's the thing. Like, I don't think you guys are done. But
we're done.
It's gonna be. I mean, what are your playoff chances? Like 31% now.
I don't know. It was a win, and we have like an 80-something% chance, and then a loss.
90s. Giants have like 92% chance now.
Okay, so then, it was probably in 80s or 90s, and then a loss makes us now 30 or 20. But yeah, we got in San Francisco, and then the last 2 games are at home: Cleveland and then Dallas at home.
I see those 2 as winnable, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's. So go ahead.
like it lines up perfectly, especially in week 18. If Dallas were to be just locked into the 5 seed, if they were to lose next week, they would be locked into the 5 seed. So maybe they'll get petty.
Yeah.
If you remember what the Eagles did last year.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty bad incidents over the years of teams getting petty in games they really don't need to win.
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully they rest all those players. Again, rivalry-wise, I don't know if Mike McCarthy would do all that and if Jerry Jones would want to do that. But
it would really be stupid because that team is like kind of banged up as it is.
Exactly. Yeah. It would be the smart decision. But again, with the rivalry, I'm not sure what you want to do there. Again, we saw a kind of a different scenario, but 2 years ago in 2020, where on that Sunday night against the Eagles,
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, the Brian Jalen Hurts. And so, yeah, I don't really. Well, we'll have to wait and see for that one for sure. But yeah, taking a look at the playoff picture, I guess we'll start here with your AFC. You got the Bills and the Chiefs. Both of them are the 2 teams right now that are locked into the playoffs in the AFC. Both teams at 11-3. Who do you think will take home the 1 seed?
It's looking like shoot. Let me pull up that schedule real quick. I was playing around with the playoff machine.
Yeah.
And it's looking like the Chiefs. They just I could see them losing to the Raiders, but I think they'll take care of the Seahawks and Broncos.
Yeah.
And the Bills have a really tough Monday night game in Cincinnati. That's another thing to watch.
Going to Cincinnati
is not out of the 1 seed picture.
If they win, if the Chiefs lose once for the rest of their schedule, and then the Bengals win twice, with one of those wins coming against Buffalo, they're the 1 seed because they'll have the tiebreaker.
Playoffs that goes through Cincinnati.
Yeah, wow. That would be kind of wild. I mean, their playoff atmosphere last year was pretty crazy, and then this year would definitely be, especially with the team all healthy again. Chase is back. That definitely is an offense to keep an eye on.
Oh, for sure.
Stretch. So
remember at the start of the year when they were 0-2 and everyone was like, "Oh, Super Bowl curse."
Yep. I traded away Joe Mixon and I almost traded away Joe Burrow too on my fantasy teams because I just gave up on them. But yeah, so those 3 are the 3 teams that are fighting for the 1 seed, and then you have the 4 seed.
4 seed is really interesting.
That is interesting for sure, and both sides, AFC and NFC, that is pretty interesting. But yeah, back to AFC. The Titans at 7-7 right now. Hold on to it. Do you think the Jags, who are 1 game back, and the Colts are 2.5 games back?
Just imagine if the Texans were to beat Jacksonville and Tennessee in these next 2 weeks, and the Colts were to win out, all they would need is for the Jags to win Week 18, and we would see Jeff Saturday on Wild Card Weekend hosting a game against probably a much better team.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, and that would be pretty wild. But looking at the Jags, Trevor Lawrence has been balling these last few weeks.
It's been great, man. It's like it's all coming together.
Yeah, and it's really showed, especially this season with him and Justin Fields. It takes time to develop a quarterback in the NFL. You're not always going to get success in year 1. So that's great news for the Jaguars fans and Bears fans, as well as they'll probably get the 2nd overall pick or 3rd overall pick, somewhere around there.
Perfect scenario for them. Like,
yeah,
what losing streak are on? They're like on a 7-game losing streak.
And the thing is, they've been competitive in a lot of those games.
Every single game. Yeah. And Justin Fields has probably played well in about 80% of those. So it's looking like the dream season in Chicago. Unfortunately, Houston is not going to choke away that number 1 pick.
Yeah. Unless somehow, some way, Jeff Saturday
to decide to cause a bunch of chaos and ruin it for everyone.
Yeah. Then, I mean, imagine the Bears with the number 1 overall pick. What would you
do?
Yeah, what would you do? Because
you would have to trade down. Like,
would you trade out of it? Or?
No chance you stick there. You could get the Texans maybe move up. I don't think the Texans would move up. if they didn't get the #1 pick. I think they just let it be. But you could certainly Detroit could get in the mix with the Rams pick. Carolina. Where's Carolina sitting right now? I think they're at the #8 pick.
Let me look. I think there's
some. Yeah, they're at #8 at 5 and 9.
Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely ones that can definitely move up. But the thing is, I was listening to a different podcast, and they're like, it takes more than one team to move down, because you're not going to give up like a high pick for nothing. A team has to be willing to trade up to get an undersized Bryce Young or a guy that can't really create out of structure in CJ Stroud. So will there be a team that wants to move up is the big question to a top 2 or 3 pick in the draft.
Yeah, it's going to be, and there could be dark horses, right? You never know if Las Vegas decides to do something crazy with Derek Carr, or even New Orleans, or not New Orleans. I'm sorry. It's the Eagles pick. Maybe Atlanta, maybe Indy. Like, there's some dark horses there. But I'd say the Raiders would be like the biggest dark horse in that scenario.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, that's pretty much, again, the 3 wild cards. Ravens right now at 9-5, Chargers in at 8-6, and then your Dolphins at 8-6 as well. Your guys are a game. Do you guys have the tiebreaker between the Pats and the Jets, right?
We're in control of our destiny.
Okay.
I've heard that sentence too many times through the years.
Yeah. How confident are you on making the playoffs? It sounds like you are, though.
I am confident. I'd say there's about a 70% chance. Like, honestly, it's going to come down to Week 18 versus the Jets. Whether we like it or not, we can't clinch the playoffs if we win the next 2 weeks. That's the crazy part.
Wait, who do you guys play the next 2?
We play Green Bay on Christmas, and then we go to New England, which I have a bad feeling about that game. But we just need Green Bay and the Jets, which I do think will happen. But, gosh, that Jets game could go very wrong.
Yeah, I feel like Mike White. If Mike White comes back, I don't know.
Let's hope that Zach Wilson does just enough to convince Robert Saleh that he deserves to play in that big game as an evaluation. Evaluation.
Yeah.
I don't really know the type of coach that Robert Saleh is going to be down the stretch here.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I feel like he's going to be the type of coach that just plays for the playoffs. But, with Joe Douglas there, so invested in Zach Wilson, and they could get into a very bad situation if they were to miss the playoffs here.
Yeah, and I mean,
like, everyone was talking about how the future is so bright, but if you finish with picking the 20s and you got Zach Wilson or Mike White, neither of which I would really move forward as give the keys to my franchise.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there? You got to get in. Like, you got it.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, if they don't, it's gonna not be the prettiest of off seasons, I feel like, in New York. All right, let's move on to the NFC. You got 4 teams actually that have clinched a playoff spot so far. So there's 3 spots up for grabs. The Eagles at 13-1 are in. The Vikings have won their division at 11-3. The Niners have won their division at 10-4. So that's the first 3 seeds. And then the Cowboys are in with the Commanders' loss on Sunday night. So they are the 5 seed right now by a pretty good margin over the Giants. But yeah, looking at this again, is probably going to come down to that 7. The Giants are pretty much in with a win, I feel like, and you're pretty much in the playoffs.
They just got to win one of those, and it'll probably come against Indy.
Yeah.
But you never know if that first half version of the Colts come to play. You never know.
Yeah. And then so probably the 2 spots that are only up for grabs right now are the Bucks at the 4, which they are a game up, I believe. Yeah, game up against the Panthers, Saints, and their entire division. They're a game up against. So they control their own destiny, I guess, with that 4th seed. You think they're going to pull it out?
I think so. It's it's really just going to come down to if they can beat Carolina and Atlanta in the final 2 weeks.
Yeah, they got
at the end of the day, I'm not betting on either of those. I understand they got whooped in Charlotte earlier this season, but Tom Brady at home against the Panthers team that really just got exploited through the air last weekend.
Yeah.
I think they lost a bit of their mojo. Yeah. Never good to lose to the 2022 Steelers. I think they got it. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be gross, but we're going to see Tom Brady getting a playoff game at home.
Yeah, and it will probably be against the Dallas Cowboys, a rematch of the Week 1 matchup. So that will definitely be a game to watch. And the Cowboys in their playoff history. So
yeah. It's possible they could be first round exits, especially remembering what happened in Week 1. They just got stifled.
Yeah. And then the Commanders with the 7 seed. You got the Seahawks at 7-7, the Lions at 7-7, and the Packers with a small chance at 5-8 to get in. But it's probably going to come down to Commanders, Seahawks, and Lions. Which team do you like out of those 3?
Commanders, Seahawks, and Lions. I'm going to bet on the Lions. I think that Seattle is going to lose in Kansas City, which will effectively knock them out.
Yeah.
I think Detroit is going to win in Carolina this week. Green Bay Week 18 will be tricky, though. I don't know if I totally trust Jared Goff in that game, especially against the Packers team that it feels like they're finding a little bit of offensive momentum, even though they've been dropping some games.
Yeah. And then, we've got, again, we talked about it earlier, but the Commanders got a pretty hard schedule to end the year. A lot of games that they could lose.
It's not over yet, but I'd have to give the edge to the Lions, especially with really just how much more deserving they look over everyone else in the NFC wildcard race right now. It's not the college football playoff. You got to win.
You got to win.
Teams.
All right, but that's pretty much going to do it. Anything else you'd like to say about the playoffs or pretty much anything else?
Nah, man, I think we covered it all.
Right. I know a lot of people already know where to find you, but where can people find you that don't know?
You can find me on TikTok at Elite Takes, Twitter Elite Takes. Remember the underscore at the end. Couldn't get my own username on there. And then you can also find me on Instagram Elite Takes _ and YouTube just Elite Takes. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for hopping on.
Yeah, appreciate you for having me. It was a great time.
That's gonna do it for another episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. See you guys in the next one. Peace.